Do you feel stuck? Have you been circling in and out of sobriety for some time now? Or perhaps you're just sober curious, but you're procrastinating on moving into that sober lifestyle. It feels like a roadblock. It feels like maybe a cycle or a loop that you keep going through. Well, this very thing could be what is keeping you stuck. Stay with me in this episode. We're going to talk about why the whole theory of I'm not that bad, it needs to get worse first before I change, is the very thing that is keeping you stuck when really all you need is one thing only. All right. So if you have been telling yourself it's not that bad, but something still feels off, you still feel agitated inside, you still keep questioning things, you keep coming back to the same idea of, I think I'm ready to get sober. I think I need to, maybe not ready, but you keep getting this sort of internal nudge, but you are going, I'm not that bad yet. This internal negotiation is going to keep you stuck for years. Trust me, I had been there around in the circle for years before I finally drew a line in the sand. Now, you don't really need a rock bottom. You don't need a breaking point. Don't need some sort of once it gets this bad, then I can change. All you really need to do is have some self honesty with yourself and admit what you're feeling, what that nudge is telling you from inside. Sometimes you just need to get quiet and listen. And we're going to talk all about this today. I'm Jennifer Sack. If we haven't met, I am an online wellness professional. I love helping people who are sober curious or maybe sober ready, help them transition into that sober lifestyle with courage and self trust and clarity and get out of the fear, get out of the negotiation cycle. I want to mention I'm not a therapist. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a licensed addiction specialist. If you feel like you have any sort of mental affliction or some sort of thing that really needs medical care, some therapy or professional treatment, I advise you to go find that. This content is really for support, it's for education, for those things, for sharing this experience and helping guide you through it from what I know of my own experience and the techniques I've learned. Now, here's the thing. Let's talk about the it's not that bad story that gets us stuck. This can continue on for years because no matter what level you start at, say you start here, you're not so bad as this person. If you do drop down, there's still going to be someone worse off than you. So you're going to always be able to find someone who's that you can say I'm not that bad. The person that can't get out of bed in the morning, the person who's late to work every day, the person who can't pay their bills, the person driving their car into ditches, the person who's neglecting their life in general, screwing up everything in their life, self sabotaging, rock bottom. You've either witnessed this, heard about it, what have you, have someone to compare this to, and you're like, well, I'm not that bad. This level of thinking will keep you stuck. I'll tell you, I am a high functioning person, but at the time when I was stuck in these decades of addiction, I was still very high functioning. It does not equal aligned. That is the myth. So you think just because you've got your shit together, that you're organized, that you're showing up to work, you're paying the bills, you're doing all the right things, that you're aligned, that everything's okay, that you don't need to change. But you'll know internally if that's not the case. It doesn't matter how perfect your life is or looks on the outside. It doesn't matter how organized or well put together you are or responsible you are. If there is something within you that feels like this is not a right fit anymore, that's it. That's the bottom line. We don't need to create parameters that are boxes. If you're like me, you love a good list, a good pro and con. Uh, you don't have to check all these boxes of, well, when these things happen, then I really know that it's time to change. You don't need a rock bottom moment. You don't need a DUI. You don't need other people to tell you or force you into it. You need to be honest with yourself and understand if this feels right for you. And when you get that quiet nudge, because I'll tell you, it's not loud. It can be. If something does happen that's like a rock bottom moment for you, if a catastrophic event happens, if something that's very heartbreaking happens because of as a direct result of your substance abuse, okay, that's going to really propel you into some clarity and some of that, the feeling of like, okay, this has to change. But I'm not talking about that today. Like, those are some clear signs. What I'm talking about is the quietness of the internal nudge. The quietness. It doesn't yell at you. It doesn't say, hey, bam, slap your face and say, time to change. It sits there and like pokes or tugs at your shirt tail and just, hey, hey, something's off here. And most of us will just feel it in our body. It's like a slight agitation in the background. It's something that makes us a little frustrated. It's something that makes us question what we're doing right before we do it every time. And then we shove that aside and do it anyway, right? That's what we do. I don't want to listen to that. We want to protect ourselves. And so we don't listen to this quiet voice that is really trying to guide you. And I want you to remember that this is just a nervous system strategy. This whole comparing yourself to others and kind of creating a ranking system of where I fall in line and what my standard is, and once I hit this low standard, then that's enough. This is all just your nervous system saying, "Oh, okay, I know something's off, but this is familiar. This is maybe how I cope from day to day with stressors. This is what I know, and I don't want to give it up because I'm really not sure what it's going to be like on the other side of that. And it's going to take some change, it's going to take some effort, and you just kind of freak out. And your nervous system says, and it thinks of all the excuses to keep you procrastinating. Like, I'm not that bad. That's just one of them. I'm sure if you took a moment to self reflect, you would find a lot of other excuses pop up that keep you in that loop. Today, we're talking about the comparison trap, the I'm not that bad trap. So, why do we measure ourselves against others in the first place? That's kind of its own little situation. Why do we feel the need to look at others and place ourselves on a certain standard and then hold ourselves up to the light of what others are doing and say, like, the barometer, like, okay, this is okay. That would not be okay. I'm better than that. They're a little better than me. We are always looking outside and judging ourselves and judging others and trying to figure out where we fit. Now, this is a very, very natural human instinct. It's how we understand where we stand, what we stand for. And it's just like, it's something that we almost can't help doing in human nature. We don't know where we are if we don't have something to compare it to. So I want you to give yourself a little grace for even having the habit of doing this because it's human nature. But at the end of the day, it does not matter what other people are doing, whether they're up here and or they're down here and you're somewhere in between is moot. All you need to do is think about yourself and what feels right for you. Because what's right for you has no relevance to what's right for someone else, and what's right for somebody else has no relevance to what's right for you. This is why we can't always go out and talk to other people who are still participating in using substances about our sobriety or wanting to be sober, our conflicted ideas about this, or when you're fully sober, you can't always hold a conversation without others getting offended, defensive, not understanding. It creates conflict because they want to make everything personal, and just like you want to make everything that's going on with them personal to you. There's none of that. Nothing's personal. Nothing's relevant between you and another person. It's personal to you only, not in regards to anybody else. So you have to cut the ties with that idea that whatever they're doing has anything to do with what you should be doing, good or bad. You need to be in alignment with what you feel. Now, environmental factors come into play here. We may have not been raised to listen to our internal compass. We may not have been raised to think for ourselves, to tune into what feels right. So we're not always able to pick up on that as well as we should. And that's a shame. That's a shame, but it does take practice. I will tell you, the more quiet you get, this is why I'm always an advocate for meditation. I've been doing it for over 20 years. I am immersive meditation facilitator. It's so amazing when you learn to slow down and listen to yourself. When you get quiet enough to allow the truth to bubble up, that's magical. And now, if you're not into meditation, fine. I'm just telling you, get quiet. Give yourself some space. Turn off the shit around you. Get quiet for a minute. When you feel agitated, that's when you need to listen the most because something is beneath that trying to speak to you. If you just listen, you can have a ton of clarity revolving around the subject. And this is how you get in tune with what is aligned with you, not based on what's going around you, but what feels right in your body. And you can feel a visceral reaction, a contraction or expansion. Anything that makes you contract, it's a no go. Anything that makes you expand, this is a sign. It's a good thing. Now we can get into the nuances of that. Sometimes we contract or expand for other reasons that aren't always productive, but I want you to think about getting quiet so you can hear what's really going on. so that you can understand what feels right for you. Because this isn't about a problematic behavior. This is not about the severity of a substance abuse issue. This is not about the severity of a problem. This is about alignment or misalignment. It's very black or white. Okay, so there's not varying degrees. You can cut all that out. Does this feel right for you? Can you answer that? If you got quiet, could you answer that? I don't think you would be watching this video if there wasn't something already speaking to you going, I think it's time to make a change. But of course, you're scared too. Of course, it seems terrifying to move into a new way. Okay, so obviously, you have some things in the nervous system that need some help, some support in working through in moving into this lifestyle, feeling good. I've got a lot of stuff that I can help you with. I'll link all that down in the resources and might even talk more about it here in a moment. But right now, I just want you to think about the internal standards that you need to shift. So take everybody out of the equation, everything in your environment that's out that is socially acceptable, take all of that out. And I want you to think about what your internal standard is. Because when you can figure out for yourself what maybe is your core values, what your new standards of what you will and will not tolerate, what feels right for you there, everything can kind of shift and mold around that. Those are like the North Star. That's a starting point. It's a big part of what I implement in my 11-step framework, which is in my No More Negotiating e-guide, if you want that one. You really walk through understanding the internal standard shifts that you make to make this very, very clear and easy for you. You're also going to be afraid of the social discomfort and the internal discomfort that comes with change. Change is transformation. So anytime anything has to transform, there's friction, there's a heat. In yoga, this is called tapas. This is the friction of change, of transformation. There has to be heat to turn an element into another element. It's just what has to happen. So saying that it's easy or it won't cause any discomfort, that's not really true. Things can become easy because you can stop negotiating, and the mental warfare and the internal negotiation that goes on and creates friction within you can be dispelled. That can go away. You can loosen the grip of that. So, yes, that part comes easy. But there's still the things you're going to have to deal with, which is the change in what you're doing day to day, how you're going about life, some internal narratives that are happening, your environment, changes in your environment that you have to make to support yourself. Excuse me. There's going to be change. So you have to almost embrace the idea of discomfort. You're already uncomfortable. You're already finding friction in your life. You're already going over something in your head. You're already questioning things, feeling a stressor in the background. You're already uncomfortable. You're just comfortable with the discomfort because you've gotten so used to it. So just think about it. This is just a different discomfort that is moving you along a path that is much better for you if that's what feels aligned for you. No one else can ever tell you that. No one else can ever tell you that. But you're just choosing one discomfort over another. So if you think about it that way, it's like apples to oranges. What do you want to choose? The discomfort of staying where you are or the discomfort of moving through into a new way of being? You get to choose that. All in all, I want you to consider the fact that you do not need proof. You do not need consequences. You don't need a full blown rock bottom collapse moment to make a change. It's not necessary. All you need is self honesty, and self honesty is enough. And that becomes enough for you when you can settle into it and cut out all the other crap. You're going to face a lot of people who have a lot of questions. Self honesty is enough. That doesn't feel right for me anymore is enough. No, thank you is a full sentence. I don't do that anymore is a full sentence. You don't have to explain. You don't have to give 50 million reasons. You don't have to make anybody understand what you're doing. You just need to know and understand why you're doing it. And the main reason can just simply be I don't think this is working for me anymore. It doesn't have to be a rock bottom moment. So, really start to understand what feels right for you. Tune in, get quiet, tune in, feel in your body, listen. And if you're feeling that nudge and you're like, I think I really need to explore this, go down into my links in the description because I have a mega, mega set of resources for you, some free, some paid. Start there. Start exploring this because it's not going to go away. I'll tell you that right now. Whatever you are feeling and getting that nudge, it's not going to go away. It might get louder or it might just simmer in the background for years, like it did with me. It took me years before I even started to try to get sober. And then it took years of going in and out of sobriety, waffling in and out, back and forth until that final decision was made. And it was clear as day the moment it happened. And I never went back. And never did I feel as much relief as that moment when there was a decision made because it made all the negotiating, all the comparison, all the hemming and hawing go. It was the biggest relief. Now, did I still have a lot to deal with in the aftermath? Did I still have to learn how to live and move through life? Absolutely. That was a lot. It was a lot to move through. It was a lot easier when my nervous system wasn't a complete wreck from the internal negotiation going on day in, day out. You have so much energy to apply to change when you're no longer battling that piece. So just think about that. You may feel exhausted with it now, but there's a point where if you get rid of all that mental warfare, you have the energy now to figure it out, to move through it day by day, hour by hour, step by step. And I'm there for you. Check out my resources if you want any more help on that. And I just thank you so much for making it through to the end of this video. I'll see you on the next one.